I want to introduce Becky Johns. She's Vice President of Business Development at ECS. Becky is also a graduate of the ACT-IAC Voyagers Leadership Development Program, and at the height of COVID was the industry chair for the ACT-IAC Associates Leadership Development Program, which is where we crossed paths and I got to meet and know Becky. So Becky, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome, Jeremy. Looking forward to it.
So for those who haven't had a chance to work with you on a program for almost a year and interact, talk about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Well, I am Becky John, as you mentioned, and I have focused on business development, which basically means I am, as I described, a human traffic cop, connecting the right people to the right people, getting them talking about the right solutions and how those things come together. So a little bit about me: Pennsylvania, born and raised, and ended up here in down DC about 14 years ago.
So what brought you to DC then?
Was in Pennsylvania, and it was the height of the recession and heading into 2008, and needed employment, and actually called a college friend, and she took my resume to her mother, who lived down here at DC, to her women's Bible study, who passed out her resume to all of her friends that happened to be in the room. And lo and behold, I got an interview and then a job at BAE. And so that's how I ended up in IT, working on an IRS project and supporting an electronic management system back in the day.
Huh. And what was your education in up to that point?
I went to school for business.
Okay.
Knew I liked to be in charge. Can I say that?
Sure.
Like to get things done, but not quite sure what I wanted to really do with that. And so when I finally ended up in IT, I discovered that I definitely had a passion around the subject and enjoyed working in the field.
So was it a big transition in terms of what you were educated for versus what they've had you doing?
Yes and no. But I mean, I was all about process. I was all about writing, logical sense, analytical thinking, managing people. And when you have those types of skills, they easily translated into the IT field.
Interesting. So what's something, so now that you've been in IT for a while, you've had a chance to see the good and the bad of our career. What's something that you would change in how we do IT?
Oh, I definitely appreciate that question. And so my number one thing is I work a lot on RFPs, work a lot on solutions. And what I see a lot is that people come in with a preconceived way of how things must be done. And of course, there's guide rails, there's policy, there's things you have to address or answer to. But sometimes we apply what we think we know to be true from what would happen 10 years ago, a year ago, maybe even last week. And we unnecessarily constrain ourselves. And then we don't really give the technical experts, the SMEs, the chance to create something that might really work to solve the problem, be more efficient, create more return on investment, because we've unnecessarily constrained ourselves. And so if I could just kind of open up my and say, all right, let's stop solving this very penciled in, boxed in thing. And then let's look at what we actually want the business to do, what we actually need the mission to do, and solve problems that way. That would get me very excited.
That would be very exciting. As an IT person myself, that would be very exciting. You're right. We do sometimes constrain ourselves for less than ideal reasons.
Yeah.
So what about on the business side? Because you kind of straddle the line a little bit, right? You're in management and you have the business background and your role at the organization, certainly to help the organization grow and do well. What's something about in the business side of things that are done that if they came to you and said, Becky, we want an idea on how to change this for the better, what might that idea be for you?
Yeah, this one is definitely more inspirational, I'll call it. It's a people focus. I think so many times we forget that we're in a people business, that it's people who make IT, people who get things done, people who change things up. And when we leave from that and we forget the human element behind everything we do, I think things go off the rails quickly. I always joke, but for real, my comment is, no one comes to work because they don't have a family, right? Or because they don't, I'm losing my words a bit, but no one comes to work because they really want to every single day. They do it because they have responsibilities, right? They have their own personal desires, their goals, their objectives, and things like that behind that. And when we forget that and we start dealing with just the work product or start dealing with X, we lose the individual, we lose the employee and the human element. And it's so much of it is related to that, related to the communication arm and how all those things come together. And if I could make an impact, a change, it would be putting the people back in IT and making sure they're communicated properly. And I think everything would flow so much better.
And actually, that would really empower your response to the previous question, in that they would feel creative and empowered to come up with ideas.
Oh, yes. I most definitely getting people out of
the boxes we put them in. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Getting people out of those boxes that we put them in, talking them, getting excited, remembering that they're there and letting them operate in a way where they feel most effective and most passionate about meeting that mission will definitely be, in my mind, the ideal state.
So what's next for Becky?
If it's me specifically for my career and what I really am interested in doing, it's, I don't think there's ever a right job title or a right job role. It's, am I doing the things that I like to do? Am I doing the things that I am passionate about? Am I doing more of that than the stuff I just tolerate? Do I enjoy the people I'm working with? And am I doing it in a culture and a place where I feel empowered and excited about the mission and that we're making a difference? And if all those things are kind of met, I know that's a little aspirational, but that's where I really see myself and where I'd love to head.
That's a great place to be. And Becky, I hope you get there.
I hope we all get there, yeah. Jeremy.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today. It's been a great catching up with you. You're a joy to interact with. And I'm very grateful for you joining me today.
Well, thank you so very much for inviting me on the show today.